everybody, welcome to the 2020 Make It Big conference. I'm your host, Beatrice Este with BigCommerce, and today I'm here with Adelle Archer, CEO and co-founder of Eterneva. Thank you so much, Adelle, for being here with us today virtually. I am so excited to dive into our conversation. I'd love to have you kick things off by telling us a little bit about yourself and Eterneva.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it and honored as a long time ago BigCommerce alumni. My name is Adelle Archer. I am the CEO and co-founder of Eterneva. And what we do is we celebrate really remarkable people and pets when they pass by making real diamonds from the carbon in their ashes. As a brand, though, we're overall focused on changing a culture around death, grief, and remembrance, and bringing some celebration of life and some levity to an area that, historically was pretty tough to talk about.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. What inspired you to start your business?
Yeah, it was honestly on a very personal note. So when we were first starting Eterneva, we were actually just a regular lab-grown diamond company, and saw that there was kind of this up-and-coming market. And, right around that time, I had a really close friend and my business mentor get diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And on a very personal side of my life, she passed. And so I was trying to figure out what I could do to honor her. And that was kind of my first foray into this space. And just, coming from technology and, having seen what a great experience looks like and, what great brands look like, that there just was a total absence of that here. And, it was really over dinner with a diamond scientist one night that this clicked, hey, if we could get the carbon out of Tracy's ashes, we could actually grow a real diamond from her carbon. And so that's ultimately exactly what we did. This is her diamond. And it completely refocused us. We just saw such an opportunity, to just build a business that really met customers where they were and build the first true brand, in the death care space.
That is such a special story, and I love that that's the idea that really sparked your business. So with that said, tell me about where you guys are today and the growth that you've experienced since you first started.
So since we initially started our business, which was Q4 2017, we've just, been growing at a remarkably quick clip. And, starting out, there were kind of some foundational, direct to consumer channels that we were going through. And then, a lot of how Eterneva has evolved is really interesting. It's a very, storytelling driven approach, realizing that we just are getting to hear the lives of some of the most remarkable people you can ever imagine. So we don't really talk about ourselves so much. We talk about these amazing people and, have really realized that video storytelling and, PR and kind of like cultivating this very authentic, community and movement around our company has really been what has accelerated growth in the biggest way. We were super fortunate to go on Shark Tank as well last year and receive investment from Mark Cuban. And, that was certainly a step function and just folks' awareness. And then during COVID, over the last 6 months, really our focus has been partnering through funeral homes and, really being of service to our industry at a time that people can't have a physical in-person funeral and they're looking for, a digital way to be coming together, bringing community together and grieving. And, so being able to do a diamond is just super relevant right now.
As a brand, I know you guys talk a lot about reimagining grief wellness. We all know that grief is something that is very, very private. Talk to us about how you ignite the conversation and really use that to not only drive your brand awareness, but your mission.
Yeah, the way that we've increased our brand awareness in, what is a difficult topic to talk about, death, is, really coming from a place of authenticity and, just hero storytelling. I think one of the investments that we made very early on, we actually bootstrapped to start Eterneva. We did not raise capital in the beginning. And so every dollar really counted. And I remember our first big investment we ever made was actually in developing a brand identity book. And it was like a $10,000 investment. And that was like a big deal at the time. And it, to this day, I think is one of the best investments that we've made because it just really helped us crystallize, who we are as a brand and what's the change that we're driving in the world. And, that ultimately this isn't about us. This isn't about ashes to diamonds. Like, yes, that's interesting. But this is really about these remarkable people and their stories and how we, are kind of the humble storytellers, of all these heroes. And so I think when we learned how to tell our story in the right way, that's what really started resonating with people. And, they would see their dad's story in, the video that we were putting out, or, they're like, my mom, absolutely, I would do this for her in a heartbeat. And, it's just about like really humanizing it. And I think culturally we have begun to open up about harder conversations, grief and, anxiety and depression, the calms and the headspaces of the world have begun to open those conversations up. And so using a social medium to, be talking about all the sides, all the facets of our life. I think people are ready to have that kind of real conversation. And it's just about being a humble facilitator of it as a brand.
And kind of to extend on that, what's been your success with word of mouth marketing?
Success we've seen from word of mouth is quite remarkable. In beginning of last year, I believe we were at 15% of our business from word of mouth. End of last year was 20%. Year to date has been 25%. And so it's truly compounding. And, I think it kind of comes down to a few different core fundamentals. It's, that investment, like I mentioned, in really, really knowing what our story is and what makes us conversation worthy and interesting. We kind of asked ourselves, what would make this something that somebody would want to share over a Thanksgiving table and, be like amazed and excited and just, blown away to share, not like, oh, this is the kind of this weird thing, and there's definitely a difference, and it's about nailing that story down. So that initial brand identity work that we did is absolutely so important because you're training your audience how they're going to go talk about you and share you forward, and that ripple effect starts. Good reading on that actually is the book Made to Stick. The Chip brothers, or Danny and Heath Chip, they're brilliant. So if you need some good word of mouth storytellers, those guys are them. And then, I think we've kind of noticed organically that we were getting all of this word of mouth. So we started asking ourselves, okay, well, how could we create more systems around that and really kind of cultivate word of mouth and encourage it more. So that's where we started launching, some different programs around, like we have a Pay It Forward program where somebody can gift an Eterneva welcome kit to a friend in need. We're not quite as, buy one, get one from a referral model side. This is so much more personal and authentic. So it needs to come from a place of feeling like you're getting to just help somebody and serve somebody, but just making it as easy as possible for them to share, so that they have the ability on our site to be paying it forward. We also, in our packaging, will offer pay it forward cards, because so many of our customers, become raving fans of us through the process that we want them, to be equipped to hand this out to anybody that, would resonate with it. And then I also think, I use that keyword raving fan. That's total lingo within Eterneva. It's just, how do we have a raving fan strategy where we just go absolutely above and beyond, to really blow people away, because that drives word of mouth as well. So, we as a CEO, I every single year Q4 have a customer feedback tour, and that's one of my number one questions to them is, hey, what more could we do to like absolutely blow your mind through the journey? And we've really designed our diamond creation journey to be giving something positive to look forward to, and pictures and videos and updates, and, designing all those assets to be very word of mouth and shareable. And then we continue to innovate on that process from the feedback of our customers. So it's continuing to evolve them in all of that, and they feel like they're advising us on it, and they continue to talk about us and rave about us as a result.
That's awesome. And, we obviously know that word of mouth marketing is a great tool to implement to your business. But I think many business owners are a little hesitant to implement it as it can be really hard to track. How do you guys go about this at Eterneva?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an imperfect science, a lot of attribution is, but especially word of mouth because there's such an offline component to it. every single form that we have is a capturing how did you hear about us. We also have an additional layer where somebody fills out a form, they select that, and then they talk to a salesperson. So we'll, dive one level deeper, because frequently it's, they might put Shark Tank, but actually it was their barber that watched Shark Tank. So it was that word of mouth, from the barber, that ended up telling them about it. So I think it's if you have the order volume, that you can actually kind of do a thorough attribution, it's worth it. And then we've also done surveys around, on average, how many people have you told about Eterneva? Because that also helps us get a sense of, kind of the multiplier effect. So we know on average when somebody hears about Eterneva and it's on one of our core channels where our message is really getting pulled through. So if it's a video that we've produced, if it's on our Instagram, PR, where kind of the key message pull through is, in line with how we talk about ourselves, they're telling on average 20 other people about this process. So it's kind of, it's helpful from decision-making standpoint of like different awareness opportunities or PR opportunities, realizing that there is going to be a multiplier effect, beyond just, the people that you're directly reaching. And it tends to ripple out. So that's, how we think about it. And I think on the budgeting side, what's wonderful about word of mouth is that it's free. So, when you're kind of thinking about what's your cost to acquire a customer, this is one of the best channels, that you can be, kind of thinking about how do you stoke, and there might be some potentially upfront investment that you're doing if you choose to, test something like we did with, pay it forward cards, or, designing experiences to encourage people to share more. But I mean, even just the time spent in, one of my co-founder, Garrett, he runs winning story workshops within our team, basically teaching everybody at Eterneva, not just our customer experience and our sellers, how to tell a winning story about Eterneva, because it's actually the Uber drivers and, the people that you meet at the grocery store that if you tell them a winning story, they end up going and finding you the next customer. So it's not always just the budget side. It's also, the time side of really investing and making sure everybody can talk about it in the most impactful way. And it's that transfer of energy that's ultimately going to continue to bring new customers in the door.
So I know you have 3 pillars when it comes to word of mouth marketing, the first being centered around storytelling. Share with us how brands today can really build an effective storytelling strategy for their customers.
So when I talk about that, it's the story that you tell, ultimately it's shifting you from the mindset of talking about a product and, feature and benefits. We could talk about ashes to diamonds, and that's interesting. Don't get me wrong. Like, how do you turn ashes to diamonds? Like, how does that work? That's a crazy process. But ultimately the how and the product is not what is going to so resonate with hearts and minds that they want to talk about it, with somebody else. And so it's more about the why, and kind of the mission behind it. Like, what's the bigger story behind that? So if you can really capture what's that really inspiring, kind of element to your brand story that's going to be what somebody wants to share over a dinner table, then that's absolutely, getting yourself there. So if that takes working with a branding agency, it's totally worth doing. It'll pay itself back, tenfold.
And the second pillar is about creating that raving fan strategy. I know you guys talk a lot about this over at Eterneva. Share with us how brands can really accomplish this.
Yeah, when it comes to creating a raving fan strategy, you're basically asking, like, what could we do for our customers and our stakeholders and our community and our audience to just absolutely fall in love with us, and fall in love with what we're doing and feel bought into it. So how do they feel like they're bought into our story and want us to win? And, there's quite a few different ways that you might address that. Like, certainly, the most amount of time you can spend with your customer, they're always going to have the best ideas in terms of like what more you could be doing with the experience. And, just there's going to be so much innovation that comes with like hanging out with one of your customers. I set myself a goal every time I'm in a new city that I'm going to look up what customers are in that area and just ask if I can buy them coffee. Because if you just continue to have that loop, you're going to come up with so many different ideas. We also invest a lot in, time-wise in community updates. So, I write pretty extensive investor updates and also community updates and have a really long, email distribution list, and then post articles on different milestones on LinkedIn, and people just really enjoy being part of that journey and being part of that process. And, as a result, they continue to tell other people about you because they just feel like they've gotten to be on that journey with you. And I think as well, that kind of ties into, your audience, if you're using social media, bringing them kind of like inside your office, and getting a sense of not just like kind of the branded content that, is beautiful product style photography. How do you get somebody like really kind of falling in love with your team and like your company as a whole? And I think like offering a little bit of behind the scenes, we use Instagram stories frequently to just upload videos of our team and like different funny moments within the office and our pets. And, even just like our team talking pretty candidly, like, hey, this story super resonated with me today. Like, let me tell you about it. I've been thinking about this for a while. That just helps people feel so much more connected to you as a company, as a brand. And I think all of those things added together, you begin to start building that raving fan tribe. In terms of additional content that you can be reading up on, Tony Robbins coined the term raving fan. So he has a lot of content about that on his site. And then the Built to Scale podcast interview with Brian Chesky is really, really excellent.
And number 3 is around building systems for word of mouth marketing. I know you guys do this particularly well with your customer advisory board and your Pay It Forward program. What are a few ways that brands can really begin to build systems for their own word of mouth marketing strategies?
Yeah, in terms of developing systems for word of mouth, it's stepping through a really helpful exercise actually is to create a customer journey. And then, really once you've mapped out every single customer touch point, what are the points at which it would be, appropriate to have kind of a call to action around word of mouth, and how could we encourage more word of mouth sharing? So, in our case, we have a lot of moments along the diamond journey, and every single month we're asking ourselves, how can we not only keep our customer informed about this, really special process that's happening, but like, let's make that, picture that we send them Instagram worthy. And let's make that, page that we're sharing it on have a call to action to share easily to social media. And then let's, have push notifications so that their friends and family can be notified of it. And so it's kind of thinking in terms of like, how could we catalyze these viral loops? It's those incremental changes that all together will start to build this as a flywheel for you. And then in terms of, ways that you can be also measuring when it would be, you want to have a good pulse on, are we word of mouth worthy right now? And I think 2 ways that you can be looking at that. NPS is a super important indicator. A raving fan is a 9 and a 10. Anything below that, you're probably not going to be in that, raving fan and word of mouth kind of area. So figuring out what's driving a lower score and fixing that. And then also inquiring what could we do, to blow your mind more. And once you get into that 9 to 10 range, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot more word of mouth. And also customer reviews. That's something that we use as a KPI internally for our customer experience team is if our customers are loving the experience at the end, if we ask them to be posting a review, we should have, certainly a hold rate on number of customers that are posting a review about us, a Google review. So those might be some, internal KPIs you consider setting for yourselves that will support your word of mouth strategy.
And last but not least, for those tuning into this session, what are a few key takeaways you'd like them to walk away with?
So in summary, for brands that are starting out in word of mouth marketing, I think the biggest takeaways are, first, nail your brand story down, make it super concise and inspiring and shareable. Second, get close to your customer and be asking them, like, how could I blow your mind more? Your customer is going to have a lot of the wisdom that you're looking for. And then third, really look at your end-to-end customer journey and look for every single touch point that you could be encouraging them to share or to, pay it forward or, whatever is appropriate for your business. But there's a lot of different touch points that are going to be appropriate. So start with those 3 and let us know how it goes.
That's awesome advice. Thank you so much, Adelle, for joining us here virtually and being part of the 2020 Make It Big conference.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That was a great session with Adelle Archer, CEO and co-founder of Eterneva. Be sure to engage with us on social media using the hashtag MakeItBigConf and share what you've learned. If you're looking for more insights, be sure to tune in to more Make It Big conference sessions by heading over to www.bigcommerce.com/makeitbig.